We are counting down to the last 7 weeks until our Pray Vote Stand Summit, which is going to be held in Washington, D.C. on September 15th through 17th. Pray Vote Stand. You want to be a part of that. And again, 7 weeks remaining. Now, that's going to be important for you to remember because one of our partners is 7 Weeks Coffee. The seven Weeks Coffee is a company committed to donating 10% of every sale to pregnancy resource centers nationwide. At 7 weeks of development, a baby is the size of a coffee bean, and for the first time, a heartbeat is clearly detectable. Thus, 7 Weeks Coffee. Their mission is to promote godly values, provide excellent coffee, and protect every beating heart. So here's the deal. For the next, really for the first 100 people to register for the summit at PrayVoteStand.org using the code 7weeks, we're going to send you a free bag of 7 Weeks Coffee. Going to ship it to you. So go to PrayVoteStand.org and use the promotional code 7weeks to both help 7 Weeks Coffee, to recognize them, and to get your own bag of that great company's coffee. All right, yesterday, a subcommittee of the House Judiciary Committee held a hearing on the harm that's caused by supposed gender-affirming care on children. Family Research Council's Dr. Jennifer Bowens testified in that congressional committee, along with others, exposing the tragedy of these procedures. There were powerful testimonies, one from a detransitioner, Chloe Cole, and there were others, like I mentioned, Dr. Bowens. They all struck a nerve, and it's literally been a whirlwind ever since. In fact, Dr. Bowens is still on call on a media blitz. Literally, she is being everywhere. Well, joining me now to discuss this and more is Travis Weber. He's a vice president for policy and public affairs here at FRC. Travis, welcome back to the program. Good to have you.
Thank you, Jody.
All right. Well, first of all, you were at the hearing yesterday. I haven't been able to talk to you since then, but I would love to hear just the overall impression that hearing had on you.
Yeah, no, it was a very powerful hearing, and I've been to these types of hearings before on this issue in Congress and seen them elsewhere. And it always seems like the folks who are trying to bring light to what's happening with the LGBT ideology and gender ideology, it often seems like they're on their heels, and on the kind of on defense, and never quite able to, really, I think, land the truth. It helped the truth land in people's hearts and minds. I think yesterday was totally different. From my perspective, being at this hearing, the truth was really landing. It was landing in that room, I think, on the hearts and minds of the members, Democrats and Republicans alike, of the other witnesses, of the audience, and of everyone watching. So from that perspective, I really consider it a massive success. I think the many different aspects of what we and others are trying to bring out about these gender transition procedures and the ideology that's driving them, many different aspects of that were revealed yesterday, and the lid was pulled off those containers, and the truth was released, I think, into that hearing room. And with the Lord's help, may it extend throughout this city and around the country. But it really was a success.
Wow, that is, I can't tell you, Travis, how encouraging that is to hear. I've got a number of clips that I want to play back. I'm sure you will remember these clips as soon as you see them and hear them. But obviously, the vast majority of our viewers and listeners were not able to be a part of that. And I wanted to do the best I can to try to let them enter in to some of the highlights of that. So let's begin with clip number 12, the Scanline clip, please.
It's a cynical and frankly dangerous political attack on transgender children and their families, driven not by science or facts, but by polling and political strategists determined to mobilize conservative voters through fear. So let's start by setting the record straight. Gender-affirming care is safe and effective.
That's stunning. I mean, you had to be sitting there squirming in your seat when she made those comments.
Yeah. Yeah, Jody, there's really three areas that stand out to me where she's just wrong, in her comments. One, it is not safe and effective, the care. We don't know. We don't know whether it's safe and effective because as Jennifer Ballins has pointed out in her testimony and elsewhere, the scientific literature does not show a pattern of studies over years that show evidence that it is safe and effective. We just don't know. So the people making that claim don't have a basis to make it. Second, when she talked in her comments, she talked about how this is driven by fear and is hysteria. Well, it's actually quite the opposite. The ones who are being forced into fearful situations are those like witness Paula Scanlon yesterday, who's a member of the University of Pennsylvania swim team, who was forced to undress in the presence of a biological man in the locker room, along with many other women who were bullied by their institution and other cultural elites who want to force them to accept this. So, there's a whole host of problems. And finally, the as I said earlier, as she opened her remarks in that clip, their claim is not based on the science, on truth. They can't show us the science to back it up. And the studies that they point to are based on consensus, basically a vote of those in control of those institutions, not based on the evidence. So we just don't know. And really what we saw yesterday is the lid being pulled off of this, the lie that has been keeping a lid on the truth on this issue was really pulled off, and testimonies and evidence was allowed to breathe at that hearing. And I believe, Jody, we're going to see a powerful effect go forth from that hearing.
Well, I believe it too. Let me pull up another clip for you, the clip number 13, Hageman.
There are only two sexes, boys are girls, or boys are boys, and girls are girls, and one cannot become the other. In fact, and especially when it comes to children, it seems to me that gender-affirming care is better described as sexual lobotomy.
Wow, what a word picture there.
Yeah.
What was going through your mind when she said that?
Yeah, no, she really zeroed in on the some of the key areas of the whole hearing, and to her point, Representative's point, Chloe Cole was there to testify yesterday as a young teenager being forced into a situation where she was ushered into this road of transition, of trying to live like a man, at the behest of those professionals in society who should have been looking out for her, who bullied her parents and told her parents, do you want a live son or a dead daughter? Like if your child doesn't transition, they're going to kill themselves. So Jody, this is wrong on so many levels, and not only is it blackmail, it's psychological blackmail to make this claim. It's bad practice, as Jennifer Ballins points out, to use this suicide bullying tactic and pressure tactic. Finally, it's not even based on science. It's not based on evidence, and it goes against the practices of those in that field. And so, there are so many problems with that, and that's what those pushing gender ideology on people like Chloe Cole often want to push. And I know because earlier you remarked you wanted to help people get a glimpse into the hearing. This was only one aspect of how powerful the hearing was. And folks can watch this hearing. The full testimony is available publicly now on the committee website. It's been posted and shared. The House Judiciary Committee Subcommittee on Constitution and Limited Government hearing on gender-affirming care that took place yesterday. But testimonies like Chloe's were one aspect of youth being forced into this road, more and more of whom are regretting it and are now coming out and say, this is how I was harmed. And people who should have been looking out for me were not and betrayed their position of responsibility. Similarly, I mentioned Paula Scanlon being forced to undress in a college locker room for women in the presence of biological men. And then our own Jennifer Ballins pointing out how this whole field has no legitimate scientific basis and evidence to back up the claims that are being advanced in the name of gender ideology. It's politicized, and even the institutions of our culture, professional medical associations, are making this claim just based on their opinions and views of those in charge of them, not based on the members. And even one of those, 80% of the members of that association wanted to vote on whether we should proceed. Countries in Europe have backed away from this, and the professional association said we're not going to open this up. It's a done deal. We're pushing this ideology in so many words. So, Jody, I just want to give the viewers a sense of the different important aspects of this that was covered. The legalities were also covered with another witness. So it was a powerful hearing, and I think members really saw that there was a lot to take note of here.
Well, I agree, and I do, in fact, have a couple of clips here from Chloe that were just emotional in what you said about how they said to her parents, do you want a dead daughter or a live son? I mean, that is emotional blackmail, as you referenced. Before we get to those, though, let me play this clip, number 6, please, a Cohen clip.
I read Ms. Scanlon's testimony. I wasn't here to hear it, and I think Penn didn't deal with your situation like they could have and should have in putting up some type of different barriers in the women's area of the locker room. But that's another issue. Things should be dealt with in a different way.
It sure should. He seemed to be struggling to come up with words because he knew what's happening is wrong.
No, absolutely. And that was in response to Paula Scanlon, the witness, who is a woman. She's a member of the University of Pennsylvania women's swim team. And she and many of her teammates were forced to undress in the presence of a 6'4" biological man with male genitalia in the women's swim team locker room, the man, Leah Thomas. And so Paula Scanlon was just describing this experience and said, you guys want to protect and deal with violence and abuse of women. Well, look at my situation. And Paula Scanlon testified at that hearing yesterday. She herself had been assaulted in her past. So for someone like her and others like her, you're compounding this trauma, and you're compounding the effect, the coercive damage that's done to them by forcing them to undress in the presence of this biological man who's clearly bigger than them. So she had just gone through presenting that. And so Cohen, obviously, it's just too much of a truth bomb for him to avoid. I think he recognized the reality of this and was basically admitting her point. She was right. He was admitting that she had a point. And that's incredibly powerful because we've seen the proponents of gender ideology just denying this and ignoring it. Well, he's admitting, God bless him for admitting that. May he see the full truth here.
Well, let's get to another one. This is where the rubber kind of hits the road with Chloe Cole's testimony, part of her testimony, clip number 5.
I think every parent deserves the utmost grace and guidance with how to help their child. That being said, I don't wish for her child to have the same result as I did. I don't wish for anybody to regret transition or to detransition because it's incredibly difficult. It comes with its own difficulties, and it's not easy. And I hope that her child gets to have a happy and fulfilling adulthood, however that may look like.
Wow, I mean, that's emotional. She said so many powerful things, but at that point, I imagine there were tears all over that hearing room.
Jody, it was incredibly powerful. She celebrated her birthday that yesterday on the hearing day, right? And she's coming years later after being a young teenager, being forced down this path, now coming out of it. And she wanted to address one of the witnesses on the other side, the mother of this child who this mother was leading down this road to transition, and basically telling that witness, Chloe was trying to tell that witness, don't do it. Look at me. I'm pleading with you. I have walked through hell. Don't walk your child down this road to hell yourself. And she testified and kind of tried to speak to that witness through the committee members. She couldn't address her directly, but through their members who were asking questions. That's a powerful and true, she's testifying to the road that she walked down. And she tried to even help one of the other witnesses see, don't walk down this road. And I think that was so clear throughout the hearing, Jody, this point of this is about truth and goodness and what brings blessing to people. crosses all political divisions. The Democrats, unfortunately, were digging in their heels, the members at that hearing. But I think their arguments were falling flat. I think they were shallow, and I think the truth was revealed at that hearing. And so we want everyone to recognize this, the truth of this matter, which will bring hope, healing, and blessing to their lives. And we're trying to avoid the damage that Chloe is testifying to, that many have had to walk down. We don't want more to walk down it. We don't want to say
Travis,
years
we've got
from now.
about- Yeah, we've got
we
about
want-
30
we want to
seconds
avoid
left here.
murders. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, so this has struck an enormous chord. There's no question. But let's land in our last 30 seconds. How can Christians support these efforts?
Yeah, so you can let your members of Congress and other elected officials know that you support them talking about and bringing truth and awareness to this issue. It's just something we need to continue to engage our elected officials on. Learn more about it yourself to help people walk through these troubling situations, and just look to FRC for more information in all those areas.
Travis Weber, thank you so much for being at that hearing, and thank you for coming on the program this morning to bring us up to speed. God bless you.
Thank you.